It only takes 90 seconds to go from this to this. Today we're going to be making chocolate molten lava cakes, and the big thing about this one is timing because it's on a razor's edge. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it. Now, when you're greasing your ramekins, the important thing to remember is use oil, use butter, use pan spray, use whatever you want. It really doesn't matter too much as long as it sticks to the walls relatively well, because we're going to want to be able to remove it at the end. Now, it's not a mandatory thing. You can eat it right out of the ramekin, but if you're looking to impress some people or yourself, then making sure that it slides out at the end is important. Once you have grease all over the sides of your ramekin, what you're going to do is just take a little bit of sugar, put it on the inside, and then shake it and turn it to make sure that it covers all of the surfaces on the inside. And what this is going to do is it's going to help create a crust on the outside of your cake, which makes it just a little bit crunchier than normal. Once you have this excess sugar, just take it, put it into the recipe, or transfer it to another ramekin. Once you have your ramekins finished, just set them to the side for later. So for the next part we're going to need is a double boiler, which is just a pot with a metal bowl that kind of sits on and creates a seal around it to where any sort of steam from the simmering water will add a gentle heat to the bottom and not overcook or break anything down once it goes in. So now that we have our bowl on our double boiler, we're going to add some chocolate chips and we're going to add our butter. Then we're going to just stir until it all gets melted and becomes one mixture. Once your butter and chocolate has melted together, remove it from the heat and let it cool down for just a minute. Now, while our chocolate mixture is cooling just a little bit, we don't want it to get cold, but just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get everything else ready, which is going to be to scramble our eggs and then add the sugar to the eggs. Now, these are both considered wet ingredients because the sugar does break down into a liquid, so they go together for the purposes of baking. Then we take our flour. Now, this flour was sifted before it was measured, and that's going to help it stay lighter, fluffier, and not be so dense on the end product. We're going to take our flour, add just a little bit of salt to it because you need a little bit of salt. Then we're going to combine all of these mixtures into one mixing bowl. And the reason we don't use the chocolate bowl is because it's still hot and we don't want to overcook the eggs and turn them into scrambled eggs before they've had a chance to come together to make a cake. So our egg and sugar mixture goes in. Probably could have just all done this in the bowl. Then we're going to temper in our chocolate and then whisk in our flour. And all you need to do is just keep whisking until it's smooth and all of the flour has been completely incorporated. What you should come out with is sort of a brownie batter looking substance that's a little bit gooey, but a lot bit runny. Now, by now, everything's cooled to the touch, so we are good. Next, we're going to take a baking tray and line it with a little bit of aluminum foil or a little bit of parchment paper, and that's just going to be to catch any overflow from the baking process or any that drips out of the bowl while we're in the middle of pouring. You're going to fill each ramekin approximately 3/4 of the way up. It doesn't need to be an exact measurement. They all just need to have approximately the same amount in them. That way they bake all at the same time and none of them overbake or underbake. Then you're going to take everything and put it into a 400-degree oven to let it bake. The secret to this recipe is letting it bake a little bit under. Now, that is what gets you your molten lava center. And because of it, this cake doesn't really reheat to that molten center again. Anytime you put it into the microwave, it will just cook the cake the rest of the way through and you'll have a delicious chocolate cake, but not the chocolate molten cake like you would before. There is a way around that by adding chocolate pieces or chocolate ganache into it at this point so you can bake it and it can be reheated. But for the purposes of making an easy one without getting into ganache or chocolate pieces, this is where we're going to go at. All right, so what you're looking for is for the outside to be firm, but the inside to be not completely cooked. Sometimes it's easier to see than others, but all you're going to do next is take a knife, run it along the outside, And there you have it, chocolate molten lava cake. It's pretty simple, all things considered, but the key is underbake it a little bit and serve it hot. So get your fingers and your little digits just accustomed to the idea that it's probably going to be a little bit warm just to get it out of there. But this is one of those you serve immediately. If you let it sit for too long, then it's going to cook all the way through, and then you're just left with a delicious chocolate cake. Tragedy, tragedy. But it will be good. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of try. Get some of that moltenness in it. As advertised, delicious, rich, chocolatey. Hope you guys get to try this. Again, it's something relatively simple with stuff that you probably already have in your house. Just make sure you're keeping track of your cook times and everything will come out great. And if not, again, who doesn't like chocolate cake? But if you enjoyed this and you learned something, make sure you hit the like, share, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. It helps me grow and I do appreciate it. And as always, thanks for cooking with me.